Hey guys, today's video I'll be covering Captain America Brave New World. This is full spoilers, so please watch the movie before watching this video please. I'd heard some different things about the film beforehand, with only a couple of spoilers, so I went in largely without knowing much. I was cautious about the movie for different reasons, and I didn't want to jump to conclusions like others have with other films before, the Mufasa movie being one of them. So to be honest about this movie, it's not as bad as people are making it out to be, while still having problems. When it comes to stories like this, there's sometimes bias involved to varying degrees involving elements of the stories, though I will say that different elements of the movie range from good to bad in my opinion. Let me explain. Given this movie continues the role of Captain America in the MCU, this was a big next step to the cinematic universe while connecting to the TV show Falcon and the Winter Soldier. As Steve Rogers was so central to the MCU, Sam Wilson had big shoes to fill, and the character felt it and even admitted to it. Of course, Sam Wilson doesn't have to be Steve Rogers to be Captain America. While late in the film, he wished he'd taken the super soldier serum, understandably. I think that was a needed element to the story. Him not feeling as physically effective in combat as Steve was going to be an eventuality. That said, him having the super soldier serum wouldn't have ultimately given him the edge in combat. He was fighting a Hulk after all. Someone like the original Hulk or Thor would be needed to defeat him in combat. Though I can't blame him for feeling that way. That was a big part of his struggle in the film, feeling like he can prove himself to the world, and especially himself, that he can truly carry that shield and be the inspiration that Captain America is. Sadly, even in our world, there are people who don't consider Sam to be Cap simply because he isn't Steve. This is because they don't realize that being Captain America isn't about being the strongest, fastest, or anything like that, let alone a specific person. It's about what was instilled in Steve by Dr. Erskine, being a good man. This means if Steve chose you to carry on the title, he believes you deserve it and will honor what that shield means. Thankfully, Bucky helped him realize this. It was a pleasant surprise to see him in the movie. Him running to be a congressman was a surprise. Curious to see how that works into Thunderbolts, even though that movie has me concerned in a similar way that this film did involving a massive threat. Plus, I think Steve himself would be mortified at how Sam's been treated since he took up the shield and title. Back on track though, one issue I had involving Sam was certain action scenes in the film. Thankfully, this wasn't the case throughout the movie. Unfortunately, it was here and there. Some of the fight choreography didn't feel as smooth at times. The early fight scene involving the fight at the church is the main example that comes to mind for this. The fight choreographer for the film, James Young, was involved in The Winter Soldier that has some of the best action and fight scenes in the entire franchise. I know there were some reshoots for this movie, it's just I'm at a loss for how some of the more grounded fight scenes weren't as effective and well coordinated compared to his earlier work. Another issue for Sam's action scenes were moments of supposed superhuman strength. One particular scene that comes to mind is when on the roof of the White House, when Red Hulk swings a flagpole around and Sam catches it with both hands. Unless I'm missing something, he shouldn't have caught that. Red Hulk is literally a Hulk. No human should be able to block a strike like that with sheer strength. There was an all too similar problem when Steve stopped Thanos from closing his fist in Infinity War. I don't know if these are fueled by a lack of understanding of power scaling, or perhaps it was human arrogance, perhaps both. The MCU has had serious issues with this in other projects. It was one of the things I ranted about in my Werewolf by Night video. As for another issue in the movie, it was leader's design. It was trash. Like, have they not seen how the man is portrayed in other incarnations of Marvel fiction? Look at the leader in the fictional universe of Hulk and the Agents of Smash. That's a clear design of what he should look like. Leader looked more like one of the diseased Uruks from the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War games, or his head specifically, which was the main problem. His left eye also being blurry didn't make sense either, and the guy should be a green color like that of Hulk, being more vibrant than sickly. Like, some of these physical designs for some of the characters are garbage. Like with Werewolf by Night, how do you mess up the design so badly? As for his intelligence, it was fairly well done, given his focus on a perception or understanding of the world most humans can't fathom. The leader is as smart as the Hulk is strong, though how his reveal to the world about what Ross had done to him made me question things. Would the leader really need to give himself up to reveal the truth to the world? Were there really no other plans or ideas he had in mind? I don't believe so. The leader typically does fail often because of his arrogance, believing himself he can't be beaten and his plans are foolproof. But that wasn't how this leader was. He was more of a broken, bitter man, who wasn't so focused on his ego, rather just simple revenge with his own red twist. Speaking of which, it's time to talk about Red Hulk. Unlike the original Green Guy, Red Hulk is known for not being a separate alter ego to his human side. Ross is the mind behind both bodies, though they altered his origin in the movie. It sort of makes sense given Ross was actually trying to change and grow as a person, not wishing to be the douchebag he used to be beforehand. So the leader's revenge by making Ross another version of the entity he hated the most for so long was a plan I can see the villain doing. Going with a character having a different origin isn't always a bad thing, and I feel it was executed well enough in this movie. I think we'll eventually see Red Hulk being what he's known to be, Ross with the body of a Hulk of a different color rather than another being himself. I was surprised though we didn't hear his voice as Red Hulk, like I was thinking he'd be doing it at some point. Though one thing does stick out in my mind the longer the fight involving Red Hulk went on, him getting madder. Why wasn't he burning or melting more of his surroundings as the fight went on, especially when he was being cut by Sam's vibranium gear? His physical design is really good though, I'm glad they did that right. Another thing that was long overdue was the literal celestial body that was jutting out of the planet. That was set up years ago in the Eternals, and the MCU finally followed up with this very glaring detail about the Earth in the MCU. This universe's version of adamantium being introduced in the MCU via being part of the physical makeup of Celestials was a unique twist in some ways, varying significantly from the comics, being an accident involving a scientist trying to create a powerful metallic alloy for the Allies during World War II, or at least that's the origin of proto-adamantium, given adamantium comes in different forms. Though I was surprised it wasn't more utilized in the film, giving actual examples for it being pushed by Ross that it's better than vibranium, which is subjective depending on who you ask. To be clear, it shouldn't have been heavily used as the film fixed the matter for the mineral to be the goal of being shared by multiple nations to prevent an arms race. Just maybe some reveals for the practical uses of the mineral, whether it be for body armor or weapons, to show just how valuable it is. I was also surprised that Giancarlo Esposito's role didn't feel as impactful as I thought it would be. Don't get it twisted, he's a great actor and really brings the characters he portrays to life. Just look at Breaking Bad, The Boys, and Far Cry 6 for some of his best work, at least in my opinion. When I saw him in the trailer, I was very interested to see his introduction into the MCU, given he's added so much to different franchises, given his remarkable villains specifically. This isn't to say his performance was bad. I guess I just didn't feel the same presence. Though Sidewinder doesn't have the same kind of role in the story compared to someone like Anton Castillo in Far Cry 6 or Stan Edgar from The Boys. I could just be nitpicking here as this wasn't truly a weak aspect of the film. Just one I was slightly disappointed by, though more for his character can be done in the future. Joaquin Torres was also another character I was a little curious to see how his character will be delved into. Given his character is a mutate hybrid in the comics, seeing him follow in Sam Wilson's footsteps as Falcon added to the reimagining of characters in the MCU. The MCU is slowly delving into the matters of mutants and the paranormal, some more successful than others, some more infuriating than others, though I digress. Reimaginings aren't always a bad thing, though getting back to Joaquin, he was a significant part of Sam Wilson's story as it revealed someone who was inspired by him more than the other heroes. Maybe it was cheesy, it still showed Sam that he was capable of being a symbol even without being the man who wielded the shield before him. Though his near death likely reminded Sam of what happened to his former wingman, Riley, all too well. So this added to the struggle he was meant to overcome. The new Falcon wasn't just a plot device to help Sam, he was his own character that will add another fresh view of the world to the MCU's roster. Him being invited into the Avengers will definitely lead to the both of them rebuilding the world's protectors, and hopefully reshaping the MCU for the better, though that's yet to be seen. Captain America Brave New World is a bit of a mixed bag in terms of its quality and execution ultimately. While it may not stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest films of the MCU, I feel it's certainly not amongst its worst. The film does introduce some new characters that can add to the MCU's roster, though some should have taken longer to design more than others. Plus, it really has Sam grow some within this film and added to his self-discovery and challenge him to take a hard look at the world around him and her people. Though I also wish they had done more with Isaiah Bradley. The man pushes us to see the more cruel and dishonorable actions of the US government, both past and present. Unfortunately, given what the trailer set up, I figured we wouldn't get to see as much of him in the film because of him being used as a pawn. Hopefully we'll see more of him in the future. That said, I'd like to hear your all's thoughts and feelings about the movie. What did you think of Captain America Brave New World? I hope you all liked this video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.